Hey, this is me building a $3 million a year business and documenting every step. If you don't know who I am, I'm Nick. I, just a few years ago, was totally dead broke, living in various garages, eating primarily rice and beans because I could not afford and justify the expense that I was making in lieu of my rent. I have come quite a long way in just a few years, and now I make over $400,000 a month. We're coming up on 430K, and I mean, we still have 9 days left in the month. Vast majority of that is profit, although I'm experimenting with some new business investments, which I'll talk about with you guys today. And yeah, this is how I do all these videos. I do them on this channel because it's just like fun and I get to form two-way comms with you guys. It's also an accountability mechanism. For whatever reason, it looks like my little notepad thing isn't working today, but yeah, that's that's me. That's Sam Evans, founder of School. That's Alex Ramosi. This is the structure of the videos. I start them off with some comment Q&A, so I answer your guys' questions. Then I build and strategize in public before finally doing growth stats on my YouTube, Instagram, and my products. If you don't know that I have another channel, definitely check this one out. It's at almost 180K subs. That's the main one where I chat mostly about AI. And then this is the daily updates channel. So I just scroll to the bottom of the community tab and answer your guys' questions, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Boy, do I have some fun stuff to show you. I'm compiling a bunch of stories about my life here for content and podcasts and stuff like that. So if you stick around to the end, I'll walk you through a bunch of fun stuff. But for now, let's do the comment Q&A, okay? So the last one was from the 1up9is. He says, nope, that's not what I'm doing. There we go. Hey, Nick, I have a question. Do you think it's still viable to be selling chatbots and CRMs in the next couple of years? And what kind of systems do you think will be in demand in the future? And what systems will always be in demand? Lastly, I find that I'm running out of ideas for retainers. So he runs a service business selling AI and automation services most likely. One of my clients is on a retainer for $3,500 a month, and it seems like I'm providing less and less value. I wanted to get your thoughts on how you'd go about overcoming this hurdle. So great question. Let me answer all of them. I mean, you got multiple, right? So first one, do I think it's still viable to be selling chatbots over the course of the next 2 years? Yes. In fact, chatbots are only going to increase in subjective value because they're going to become more intelligent, right? We see the jump from GPT 3.5, where chatbots were more of a nuisance than anything else, to GPT-5, where they're now actually reasonably capable of doing a lot of business tasks, mostly by calling tools. So I think the value will increase over time. Obviously, the implementation difficulty for the average business owner will probably decrease. So, there'll be some trade-offs there, but yeah, definitely more valuable. And then CRMs the next couple of years, for sure. Structured data definitely isn't going anywhere. I think these models and agents are going to become more adept at dealing with structured data, which is going to increase their value, most likely. What kind of systems do you think will be in demand in the future? What systems will always be in demand? Generally speaking, and this is just like a good mental model to know, I would say for services, always sell systems or things that are related to revenue. Or rather, prefer selling systems or things that are related to revenue because they're much easier to justify and you typically have a higher perceived impact versus if you spend all of your time and energy building systems that are related to back-end optimizations and profitability and administration and stuff like that, okay? The reason why is just like, think about it as a business owner. I'm a business owner and you're trying to sell me a system. And there's two possible universes. In universe number one, you say, hey, Nick, how's it going? I know your agency's at $10,000 a month. I have this system that I think can deliver you another $10,000 a month, and I'll charge you $3,000 a month for it. Okay, you walk me through all the logic, you justify, you shouldn't justify, but you build a lot of value, you make a great case, you convince me. What am I thinking now? I'm thinking that I'm making a 3 times return on my investment right off the bat, right? It is very simple. It's I give you 3,000, I get 10,000. Very straightforward. There's not much of a logical jump there. You don't have to walk me through tons of hoops, right? If you compare that to, hey, Nick, I know you're running a $10,000 a month business. I'm going to create a system that automates your administration, which makes, doing your payroll and your taxes easier. It's like, first of all, how big is that problem realistically? If I'm making $10,000 a month, how much money am I currently spending on dealing with all the administration and taxes and stuff like that? Probably, if we're being honest, like just a few $100s per month. So the magnitude of the problem is a lot smaller. And then two, like how many hoops are you going to have to walk me through to get to the point where you can justify a big payment for that? It's like, administration will make you more money because you're not going to be spending as much time on admin and you can spend more time on business. And it's like, all right, but I'm only making $10,000 a month with my current business. And clearly my efforts aren't one-to-one unit time spent to amount of money that I'm making. So how exactly am I going to do that? I have to come up with the answer to that problem. I guess what I'm trying to say is like leads are just the simplest and easiest things to sell. Sales are sort of on the same vein. Sorry, I was just getting a call there. And, even things that are like related to client onboarding and stuff like that are pretty good. But the further and further you get away from that, like you really have to know your shit and you have to be targeting a specific vertical and a specific type of business, like enterprise businesses, where when you make a percentage improvement in their back end or their margin, you can actually deliver like a big actual impact. And that's just very difficult for beginners and people that are new to sales, right? So yeah, long story short, just sell systems that are mostly revenue based and then, gun that until you hit $100,000 a month. Worry about everything else later. Okay, and then I find that I'm running out of ideas for retainers. Yeah, I feel like that's definitely a you problem here. There are lots of ideas for valuable services you could provide as part of your retainer. I don't really know why you're providing less and less value. Maybe if you clarified a little bit about that, I'd be able to help you. But yeah, to make a long story short, wanted to get your thoughts on how you'd go about overcoming this hurdle. I would probably make a giant list of all of the things that my client is currently doing to generate revenue. And then I would make a list of things that, other people are using to generate revenue and see the overlap. If they're doing things that are good, then I would build systems to help them doing the things that are good. And if they're doing things that are bad or that just don't really produce a return or there's no validation or verification that that approach even works, a good example of this is like, some clients will spend an inordinate amount of their time making like LinkedIn posts. And then I'm like, well, how much money have you actually driven from all the LinkedIn posts you're making? And they're like, well, I signed a $500 deal 3 months ago. And it's like, okay, well, how much money do you make when you go to trade shows? And they're like, well, we make like 50 grand every time I go to a trade show. And it's like, okay, why are you spending 2 hours a day going and doing LinkedIn posts? Why don't you just spend all of your time on trade shows, So, get this little table in front of you. And then for all the things that actually make them money, just ideate systems that can help them do that. And then, when you jump on your next weekly call with them or whatever, then verify that they understand why, and then walk them through how your system could help them do more. I think you'll very quickly and easily justify your value. Okay, what digital pen are you using to draw on the whiteboard? Can you send me a link? It's called the XP pen. Arian says, hey, Nick, I watched one of your videos and you explained how to deliver automations and saw another video in your main channel where you discuss retainers. My real question is, if I have to set up the automation of their client on their server for about $1,000, then why would they pay me $1,000 next month for only maintenance and a few other additional services? So you got paid $1,000 to set up an automation for the client on their server. Why would he pay me $1,000 next month for only maintenance and a few other additional services? Well, what are those additional services? I can't really answer that question, I would say, because I don't know what the additional services are. But if I'm being honest, therein is the problem, right? Are you only offering them maintenance and a few other additional services? It doesn't really sound to me like you are building any value into this retainer whatsoever. You're saying, hey, first month, $1,000. Next month, $1,000. And it's like, okay, what do I get in month one? It's like, you get the entire automation. You get the value driven. You get all the stuff that I talked about. Okay, what do I get in month two? It's like, I'll maintain it. It's like, why would I want to pay that $1,000, right? So this is a business problem. You just need to come up with more value for, subsequent months of your retainer. You need to come up with natural upsells, cross sells, natural things that like you do in month one and then you make it better in month two and so on and so forth. And yeah, that's a big chunk of like making high quality packages. Hey, Nick, says, why is this? I sent about 1,000 cold emails last month, got 25 replies. 20 of them were out of office replies and last 5 were negative. Should I continue to send more emails to this industry? Or should I be testing other industries as well? Or should I just up my volume to 5 to 6K a month before making a decision? Interesting. Well, I guess it depends on where you are. I mean, I guess it's, August, and I know a lot of Europeans take just this whole last month off. So if that's why you were getting a lot of the out of office replies, realistically, it's, you probably got like 10 negative replies. Should I continue to send more emails to this industry? It's tough for me to say. It really is. If you haven't gotten a single positive reply in 1,000 cold emails, logically, if we're just, talking out loud here, 1,000 cold emails, 0 positive replies, your positive reply rate is probably less than 0.1%, just mathematically, right? So it's less than it. I mean, you could get maybe next email you send, you get a positive reply, who knows? But up until now, it's like less than 0.1%. I would consider this to be a pretty poor positive reply rate for sure. Quite a poor positive reply rate. So it's probably not that like your audience blows. It's more so just that like your copy does not fit this audience. And I think understanding that earlier as opposed to later will help you a lot. Like you can make any campaign work and you can sell anything to anybody. It's all just a matter of the messaging. People are pretty hackable in that way, especially through cold email. It's a good way of thinking about your hacking, psychology. But, I don't know if I would just up my volume and then send. What I would do is I would take the 1,000 cold emails, take the, less than 0.1% reply rate. And now that you know your reply rate's less than 0.1%, I would iterate on it, write a bunch of new copy, have totally new, completely different 180 angles to all of your stuff. Send. And then if you get more than a 0.1% positive reply on the next 1,000, you're trending in the right direction. And then from there, you can iterate. Better to do that versus just like sending 6K of the same shit that isn't working. Okay. Wambling Boyd. I am currently wambling. Says, hey, Nick, I'm in the process of making AI voice appointment setting and receptionist for a company. Currently, I know that I'm missing something, but I have no idea the process of handing over the actual automation. Okay. Would love some help onto the integration of the project to a company. Also, along that, where, in your opinion, is a great place to store and keep track of clients? Yeah, I store and keep track of clients. At least we do for Left Click in ClickUp. So we have like a clients table, basically. Very straightforward. And like when somebody goes from the CRM, basically when somebody goes from like the leads table and then their status is transformed to like client one or whatever, it triggers an automation that automatically pumps them into the clients table with, various onboarding tasks and stuff. So that's what I would do there. And then how do you actually hand over the automation? It depends on like where you got your AI setting or receptionist. If you built it in Vappy or whatever, then there are a couple ways. In the future, my recommendation for you is when you sign a new client, get them to sign up to the thing for you. Okay. And then just have them give you the username and the password. That way, anytime you do the work, you're not going to have to double it by handing it off later. Like you'll just build it directly in the client workspace. It can make your life a lot easier. So for now, what you could do is you could get their payment details. Does Vappy have a built-in like project transfer yet? They might. Let's see. I don't know if they have built-in project transfer, which is annoying. I think you can template. You can template. Anyway, no, I'm not entirely sure right now because it's been a while and they change things all the time. So I don't want to give you like false information, or do I want to spend a bunch of time looking into it right here when I could be answering questions. But if there's a project transfer feature or an export feature for the agent that allows you to import it into another with like all the built-in webhooks and tool calls and stuff like that, then do that. I know some platforms do now, which is nice. Just don't know about Vappy, which, I imagine you're using because my stuff was mostly about Vappy and you probably follow me. Quite the assumption, huh? But anyway. If not, what you can do is you can get them to swap the credit card in your account, pay there, and then change the email address to one of their email addresses. And now you basically transferred over the account. Then you can just make your own, account next time and just not have to do that again. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. So just always do a kickoff and then just hand off directly. What's going on, Fatima? Nice. Like always, thank you for the insights. No problem. Very nice, says Aaron. Dude, nailed it with the title. You're going to get a lot of views on this one. Did I? What did I say? What GPT-5 means for AI agencies. Ooh, this was the clickbait one. So I made this video a while back. It was super clickbaity. And I said, what GPT-5 means for AI agencies. And then the very last 2 minutes of the video, I actually answered that question. So we're probably getting to the point where a lot of people are going to be pissed off at me saying stuff like, Nick, your clickbait is unbelievably annoying. Frida says, please create a personal assistant voice agent that can manage emails and a calendar. Thank you, sir. You're doing a good job. Cheers to good, authentic social media creation. Thank you. Yeah, so this sounds very similar to probably what this fellow's doing. Manage the emails and the calendar. Yeah, I just use Vappy for that, and then I'd connect I'd use webhooks or built-in Vappy tools for sure. Okay, one sec. Oh boy, this is a long one. Love your content. Get that you're reviewing questions. Difficult to choose a title. Yeah, here we go. What GPT-5 means for agencies. Focus on that if you're answering questions. Please name the video accordingly and hint at several related topics addressed. I clicked on the video, skipping through it, not even finding when you talk about GPT-5. It's super frustrating. Well, I'm going to give that a like and I'll give that a heart. This is really funny. The whole last 3 minutes, patience is a virtue. And then Chris is like, I wasn't training for inner peace, Langland. I wanted the info. That's hilarious. Okay, well, Chris, let's be real here. It was a good title because it got you to click, but it was not a... Yeah, the content itself did not address the need that you had when you clicked on the title within a few moments, which was inefficient for my viewers, which is obviously not something I want to do. So ideally, I would have both, right? I'd have content that is extraordinarily high on the click-through rate and just gets super viral just because of the inherent nature of the packaging, and then also answers the question and gives you the value immediately or soon, not like, at the very last 3 minutes of the video. So I'm fully cognizant of this. I didn't do this to screw with you guys. I just did it because I try not to spend too much time on this. What is the one video I should watch to get started from zero? I have no money, all the time in the world, pretty packed PC. How can I start from scratch and spend the minimum, if any, in the starting? Okay. And then polyfills. Oh, that's the video. That's the one that you want. Use that one. My prescription has arrived for the day, says Drew. Hey, Drew, how you doing? Is GPT-5 AGI? I think so. Yeah, I think so, to be honest. I think we're well past artificial general intelligence at this point. We're dealing with math Olympiad problems at point whatever % of people would actually ever do themselves. I think we're at AGI, and sure, like crucify me for saying that. If you just took GPT-5 and you showed it to anybody like 15 years ago, which is where people were starting to be like, "Holy shit, we could all die because of AI." Like 99% of them would be like, "Yeah, that's artificial general intelligence." So the goalpost shifting is just going to keep on going on, and people are going to disagree with me. But yeah, like it's it's about as smart as a person, I would say, on average. Hey, Nick, thanks for the great content. I'm new to N8N and automation, but have an idea to start an AI agency that offers B2B lead gen and growth systems. Can I do this without tech knowledge by reselling white label or implementation partnerships? Absolutely. Yeah, there are a couple of great platforms that do this sort of stuff. You could basically just resell instantly. That's a big chunk of what some of my viewers do. They basically just go in, become an instantly expert, which doesn't require too much technical knowledge, then just resell it. AKA they talk about how they're the ones that are implementing the solution, which they are, but then they just have the client sign up to instantly. They purchase the email inboxes through instantly. They purchase leads through instantly. They just do everything through instantly. It's like done for you. And it's not the highest quality solution, obviously, but if you don't want to be super technical, that's one way to do it. And there are a bunch of other ones too, like Go High Level is a big one, and so on and so forth. Boz says, love your content structure. Keep it up. Thank you. About time so many videos posted and I didn't have access. Pedro says, hey, what's going on, Nick? Goat, loved your video with Hormozy and Sam. Sam is so funny. My question's about the scope of the problem solving in my school. Cool. I'm helping Catholic men break bad habits, mostly lust and laziness, and find their purpose so they can monetize it. Would you say that's narrowed enough? Too narrow, maybe. I've done some market research and know there are people willing to pay money for a protocol that helps them beat lustful habits. And I also checked some courses out there, mostly lower effort videos. I have some capital to put towards better production and make the course the best one that helps men break their vices. Haven't launched it yet. Should be ready by late October. Just wanted to ask your insight. Would you say this is narrowed enough? For sure. The thing is, you're saying it should be ready by late October. Just launch today. Hopefully you got the notification you're watching this video, but launch today. Don't launch, don't launch in late October, man. That's 2 months from now. Who's to say that this is even going to be a good opportunity 2 months from now? That you'll even be able to capitalize on all this 2 months from now. I don't take anything for granted here. Every second that you have an opportunity in a market is a blessing, speaking to you just pragmatically, right? So I would jump on this opportunity as quickly as humanly possible and then just start marketing it. I understand you not wanting to offer a course that's not good or whatever, but there are a variety of ways that you could solve that. You could drip out the content over time. A big chunk, I imagine, of probably breaking the bad habit of lust and laziness is building some level of patience, right? So maybe you could build that into the program. That's what I did with my daily accountability. I built it into the program where it's hey, once per month, you get a new month. And as a result of that, you're forced to show up every single day and actually be accountable. So I think your product could be good. I think that you just need to tie the lust and the laziness back to some sort of return on investment. You should probably go find a bunch of Catholic people that have followed very similar steps to you and are now making tons of money and they're happy and successful and they have beautiful wives and lovely families with the white picket fence and everything, that's part of the messaging and stuff like that you're selling. But yeah, that's my take on that. Okay, let's do one more. Hey, Nick, I've been struggling with my Upwork profile. I'm still far from hitting the numbers you mentioned as a threshold for real momentum. My question's about positioning. As someone who's just starting on an Upwork, should I be open about being a beginner? No, you should not be open about being a beginner. That turns potential clients away. One of the key pillars of risk that any client has when they work with a freelancer or an agency or whatever is just, has this person done this before? If you can just answer that question and say yes to that, then you're 50% of the way to the sale. I would not spend money with somebody that has not given me the impression that they've done the thing that I'm asking at least once before. Okay, that's the number one most important thing. So do not say, hey, I've never done this before and I'm a total beginner and I'm a noob, That may be true, just don't say it. You don't need to blare it from the hills. Let's just be pragmatic here, right? Take the system, build it once for yourself, and now when somebody asks, hey, have you built the system before? You're yeah, of course. I built it for a software consultancy, right? Or a no-code automation agency or whatever. Be as honest as you can within the framework of mitigate risk as much as humanly possible for your clients. And how do you justify that? Well, you just give them a guarantee and you guarantee 100% of the results. And if you don't hit those results, then now you just give them all their money back. They're no worse off than they were when they started. They're probably better off. Okay. All right. Okay. We'll call it there. Thank you guys very much for all of the positive feedback and stuff like that. Let's talk a little bit about business strategy. So yesterday I got a little bit ahead of myself and then I made this community called Advisory. I'll show you guys the photos of me and stuff like that in a moment. But I made this community called Advisory. I did this on the heels of me thinking that it'd be a great idea to start a school advisory that advises school communities. And I was I'm going to take a percentage of the revenue and that way everything will be great. And the whole idea is I do very productized leverage consulting where you get personalized Loom roast from Nick on the 1st, 8th, 15th, and 23rd of every month. It's the same value you'd get out of paying Nick thousands of dollars for consulting, except no fluff. You get weekly video recaps of what I'm doing to grow my own school, which is just basically this. And then you get a bunch of discounts to other platforms and stuff. So I recorded a brief little video. Hey, everybody. If you guys don't know what this is just me showing off the trophy and just generally being very annoying. And then I put it up. I haven't marketed it or anything. This is the first time I'm talking about it. And then I charged $50 for it, $50 a month. And then, now that I've done the work, I sent it to a couple of people that are, running school community stuff. And they were all like, dude, like, you're not going to make any money with this. And I was like, why not? They're like, just do the math. I was like, what if I take 5% of school community? And it's like, well, what's the total gross marketplace volume of school? What is the total amount of money transacted on the platform? And I was like, shit, I don't know. But you can kind of guesstimate it, right? Just by taking like the school games winners. Go to the school games. Go to all-time most money in the money category. 300, 290. Oh, damn. Spencer hit the 300 mark. Nice job, dude. 300, 293. Okay, so that's like 600. Anyway, I did the math and like top 20 were, I think, 2 million a month, right? Something like that, I think. Yeah, it was like 2 million a month for the top money. You could do the same thing across the tech category, spirituality category. You could figure it all out. And you'll see that like, the actual, if we just assume that the top 20 people on school, make up like the top 80% of all the money, mathematically speaking, like the gross marketplace value that I would have access to by taking a percentage is really not all that much. Let's just say that it's 10 million, which it's not on the top 20 category, but let's just say it's 10 million a month. Even if I take 5% of that, I'm only making 500 grand a month with my offer. And that's assuming I have 100% utilization and I sell every single person in every single top 20 leadership spot on every single one of the major categories on school, which is obviously bullshit. Assuming that I sell 10% of that, that's 50 grand a month. So anyway, I'm not going to spend all this time and energy to make a product that's making me $50,000 a month. You can't fault a man for some enthusiasm, but yeah, I just realized that wouldn't make sense. So if I want to achieve this sort of like crazy percentage improvements to my revenue that, I think I would actually need in order to do this, realistically, I'd probably have to charge way more. So I don't know exactly what that would be, but yeah. Anyway, I just landed on $7.99 a month. Probably going to have to do way more though. Like realistically, think about it from my perspective. Even if I get 100 people in at $800 a month, I'm only making $80,000 a month, which right now is a 20% improvement to my bottom line. 20% improvement to my bottom line is going to require way more than 20% of my time to fulfill that. If my offer is 4 roasts a month, right? 100 people times 4 roasts a month, assuming each roast is 5 minutes, that's 2,000 minutes. That's a lot, right? That's a lot. So unfortunate, but I thought it was cool. And anyway, at least I snagged the term advisory because I just think it looks cool. School.com/advisory. I mean, like that's pretty badass, right? Custom URLs were sick. So yeah, I don't exactly know what I'm going to do for that coaching consulting offer. I mean, like, the traffic I'm getting for this post is still freaking insane. I mean, probably in the last, look at all this. Look at all this. Just in the last like 45 minutes, I've gotten like another 15 posts and stuff. It's crazy. Not to mention all the replies that I'm getting. So like, I'm trying to position myself as like the guy that knows how all this stuff works. And I do for sure intuitively now. But yeah, if you guys have any suggestions on that, then let me know. Yeah, I mean, even if I were to do like 10% of revenue, and in exchange, you get some productized thing. As I mentioned before, like that's still just not enough money to justify the time I would spend. I'm really looking into like higher level plays now because I've just realized that at my level of leverage, like, if Maker School's making me somewhere between $5,000 to $7,000 an hour right now, what else will pay me $5,000 to $7,000 an hour? Certainly not recording these Loom video roasts, which I thought was a great idea. But yeah, just really losing the cart for the horse, I suppose. So I don't know if anybody here runs a school community and you guys see a way that you could align incentives, let me know. It'd be really, really cool if I could find a way to make this work. Other things that are important to me are legitimization of my info product business. So like owning a portion of school communities would be really cool. Owning a portion of school would be really cool. That'd be awesome because then I could say I'm a co-owner in school and it's like hundreds of millions of dollars of value there. Not just in terms of the actual like value that I get, but mostly in terms of the future potential money I could make by leveraging that as my social proof. But yeah, I'm mostly interested in like the legitimization of something like that. Equity would be kind of cool. I don't really want to get super involved in the actual businesses, but like Brief little Loom video roasts I find are super valuable. Like sometimes I'll deliver a Loom video roast and it's a problem that somebody's been struggling with for like 2 months. And then I'll in 3 minutes solve a problem for them that makes them $100,000 the next month, right? It's like, wow, that is ridiculous. That is super, super high leverage. Doesn't always occur, of course. Most videos are probably not like that, but some of them are. And that's really what, the ROI would be. So just trying to figure out the best way to position what I want in light of the fact that I also have a bunch of other goals. Okay, so that's that. And then one other thing that I did yesterday, which I thought you guys would find really funny, was I went through and then I created a bunch of, well, I didn't create. I went through all of my emails for the last 7 or 8 years. And then I tabulated like all of the learnings and stories that I've gotten from all of the last 7 years or so. Well, actually, to be honest, last 13 years, because the first story was like when I was 16. So I started with like my first job at 16 years old, which is when I worked at the P&E, Pacific National Exhibition in Vancouver. And basically what I did is I operated this game, it was like a gambling game where, you get a hammer and you go hit the thing and it goes, ooh, ding, 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 up at the very top. And my whole job was I had a microphone and I stood on the side of my game, put my hand on my hip, and I just chirped people constantly. Said, hey, big man, want to use those muscles to get your girl something special? Just over and over and over again, like over and over and over again for 8 hours a day. So if you guys want to know where the yapping came from, direct result of that first gig. Then afterwards, like I have a ton of stories here and I don't really want to run through all of them here, but afterwards, another real big high ROI job for me was working at this place called Public Outreach, which was basically a fundraising firm. And the fundraising firm partnered with like a bunch of, charities and whatnot to fundraise for them. I was paid $15 an hour Canadian, poverty wage, but it was a really fun time. And they put you on the street and your job was to hail down people, like random business people downtown Vancouver. And then they're like, hey, how's it going? You want to donate to a charity you've never heard of? Does that sound like a good use of your money? And just like, approach hundreds upon hundreds of people every single day. And just get them to like hit you. They spit on you. It was brutal. And then you did all that for like, a $40 a month subscription. But anyway, my whole idea in compiling this list of stories is I've realized that like big creators, they tend to have stories, right? And that's what a lot of their content revolves around. My content right now revolves mostly around knowledge, which is valuable, but human beings tend to internalize concepts better when they are grounded in a story, in some sort of rise, fall, struggle. So as a more efficient, information transformation mechanism, if I can weave the concepts that I want to show people into stories, one, I think it'll significantly improve my relatability, which is valuable for me for monetary reasons, obviously. It'll be really easy for me on podcasts and stuff like that to, talk about these stories and whatnot, which I think will help me reach new audiences. And then also I'll just be able to, transmit the concepts better, which is good. So for instance, one of the main concepts that I learned here at Public Outreach, where I was reaching hundreds of people a day, 8-hour day, you can imagine like probably 5 people walking by me a minute. It's like 1 every 10 seconds. It's like, 5 a minute, and then I do that 60 minutes an hour. That's like 300 people an hour approximately. I didn't have conversations with all of them, but I tried to approach every single one of these people and try to. Where do you think, I got this whole idea of massive action from? Well, it's because like I needed to get the attention of hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of people a day, and maybe only like 10 or 15 of them would actually respond to me when I was in the street corner. Like that's freaking bonkers, right? So, like kind of grounds your expectations when you do outreach. And this is me in my college or university, I guess. This is a Simon Fraser. This is on the roof, actually. As you can see, it's gorgeous. This is a mountain backdrop, and you just have like the most beautiful view. This is me on some video somewhere back when I was small. And then this is me smelling some flowers. I don't know where this came from, but I thought you guys would like that. I feel like I was on a date or something. It's probably on a date. Yeah. I found this in my email. I sent it to myself. So I think I was on a date. Somebody took a photo of me. And then, I just had a bunch of stories here. So another one was when I was skipping classes. When I was 21, I had to wake up at about 6 a.m. to get to my math class every morning. I was a commuter at my university. So I didn't like live there. I didn't have dorms or anything like that. I just commuted there to and from because I was poor, right? It was the only class I had 3 days per week. So the rest of my classes were Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they were long days. But then Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I had this freaking 8:30 a.m. class that I had to wake up at 6 a.m. for. So I had to spend an hour traveling there, and then an hour traveling back for a 15-minute class, meaning that like my return on time or something was like 30%. I didn't understand this at the time because I was not into business, right? I wasn't that into business. But, I was really annoying. Felt like I was absorbing nothing when I made it there. And I just hated having to commute, and I hated like I had like trouble like eating in the mornings for whatever reason. I think it's just related to the liver condition, Gilbert's. Sorry about that. And as a result, like I don't know, I just feel weird. My stomach would grumble, so I wouldn't eat in the mornings. I got really nervous, and it was just like really just a shit time, to be honest. So one day I slept in by mistake. My alarm didn't wake me up, and then just didn't go to class. And you know what? Nothing bad happened to me. And then that's when I realized you could just like choose when to participate on things and when not to. And I just chose not to participate in that class. I chose not to play the game that the people told me I had to play, which sounds badass, but I literally just did not go to that math class. And yeah, as a result, I lost 10% on the participation side of my classes. But I made up the 10% on the back end come midterm time because I was well rested. And then I saved 3 hours, not every day, sorry, every 2 days. So I saved 9 hours a week as a result of doing this. I was able instead to just get recordings of the lectures from a friend of mine that went. And then that's it. I lost 10%, got the recordings, played the recordings at like 2x speed. Sure, the recordings weren't perfect, but think about the utilization of my time in that classroom. Stupid, right? Anyway, I got tons of cool stories that I really want to go through. But as you guys could tell, they're very much like rough drafts there, insofar that I just like saw them in my email and then I remembered them and then I just penned them down. So my next step is I'm going to go through each of them and like basically write a little blog post style story. And the idea is I'll use this to create content moving forward where it's like, I'll make a video about that first job. Or maybe, if I have a main concept that I want to talk about, I will anchor the concept in that job and it'll just help people remember that, when they're trying to apply the concept to their own business or whatever. Cool. Hopefully gave you a little peek into my life. Really appreciate you guys watching as per usual. This is a very long video, but I think it's worth it. Have a lovely rest of the day. I'll catch you tomorrow.